Welcome to Be a Voice. This is Britt Carpenter on Usala Media. Thanks for joining me today. It's not often that I get to sit and enjoy a conversation with somebody sort of off the beaten path of what we do here at Be a Voice. But what we do here is we talk about being a voice and being a voice for what your passion is. And, you know, part of being a part of Philadelphia is having a passion for Philadelphia. Being a part of Philadelphia is having a passion for Philadelphia sports. And if any of you are a Philadelphia sports fan, and if you're not, shame on you, but any of you who are, you know the guest that I'm going to be having on today as the Philly sports guy. I am sitting here today with the Philly sports guy, also known as Jamie. Hey, Jamie, how you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing wonderful.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here today. And not just that, I'm not just blessed by having you here today. I have your son here today, too. We have James. Hey, James.
You got me here. Hi.
I got you. Oh, my gosh.
The Philly sports kid.
Yeah, Philly sports kid. Is that what you go by? Do you have an Instagram account?
No, I don't know. I don't have any social media
He's at
accounts.
14 years old.
Okay.
I am, tempering that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he doesn't need to get that. I don't. I have a lot of fans. I also have a lot of detractors. I don't want him to get involved in that.
That's good parenting right there. That's really good. But the best part about it is he's sitting here with you today. You're both like the hype of Philly right now. With anything. Right now, with, coming off of what we did with the Phillies recently, the way the Phillies just, they really did a great job. Regardless of what anybody says, come on, look how far they got. That's
right.
what can we say? But you really were the hype of Philly during this. You really got the fans going. You got the people going. Tell me how and why, man.
So I tell you, it's been evolving over time. I've been getting painted up for Eagles games for years, and I got recognized one game. They put me on TV. I showed up at the Eagles-Saints game when they were in the playoffs. Alshon Jeffrey missed the ball. But I was there 3 hours early, and John Clark made a video of me, and that video went viral. And after the game, people are coming up to me. Fans of the Saints are coming up to me. They're like, "Man, you went viral." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" Like, I have no idea what that means. I had a production company reach out to me, and they wanted me to do a commercial for a charity. So I went to go do the commercial, and I'm there doing my thing, and they're like, "Your energy is amazing. You're like the Philly sports guy. You should see if that name's available." And it was. And they said, "We'll teach you how to do social media if you want to learn." And I was like, okay, I'll start to do this. It's not going to hurt. My mother, who was on her deathbed at the time, she had COPD and emphysema from years of smoking. Yeah. Don't start smoking if you haven't started. Quit if you can. Please.
Yes, I try to get my mother to stop all the time. She doesn't. It's so annoying.
I get it. I'm a former smoker, and I get it. I worry.
So was I.
I worry sometimes, and I get it.
13 years quit now.
Good for you.
I finally have gotten past the point where I have smoked for less than half of my life.
Oh, that's pretty good then.
Yeah, I started at like 12 years old, and now I've been quit for 13 years.
Good
so
for you.
Like I've smoked for 25 and have been alive for 51. So
And that's amazing. And your mother, how long ago did your mother pass?
3 years ago.
3 years. Okay,
Yeah,
so this is recent.
So 2019,
Okay.
just after 2019.
Okay.
And she had told me, she's like, I was telling her, I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about becoming this Philly sports guy. And she said to me, I've had so many jobs that it made me upset. I was unhappy. We're only above the grass for so long. Do what you love. If it's going to make you happy and it's going to make you money, you can't go live out in the streets and do this, then go ahead and do it. Who am I to tell you no? And then she turned to me and she goes, when you were like 10 years old, you asked me, how come people don't get painted up for like Phillies games or Flyers games or Sixers games? How come it's only for the Eagles? I said, well, what did you tell me? She goes, I don't know. Go outside and play is probably what she, and I can hear her saying that in my head.
Right.
I just started doing it and then just started going to games.
How many years ago was this?
6 years.
6 years ago?
Yeah. Like
So
5,
you
6
just
years.
went to the Eagles game. First game ever you painted up for was an Eagles game.
In 2001.
And no clue what social media was. Any
There wasn't
concept of
social
it.
media
There was
around
no social
then.
back then, and things just started evolving. And you like all Philly sports.
Correct.
You like them all.
Yes.
And when Union came about, you're a Union fan.
Yep.
Total Union fan.
I do all of them. I even do the minor ones. As you see, James is wearing the Philadelphia Phoenix.
Nice.
That's ultimate frisbee. We have a professional cornhole team that I'm the hype guy for. So the
Philly has it?
The Philadelphia Bell Ringers.
The Bell Ringers.
So if there's a professional team out there that wants to, that is a part of this community, I want to be able to support them because I'm big on sports in general, and that's I like the competition. I like being a part of it, and I want to represent Philly with everything that they do.
So when you're, the day of a game, you get up, like, is there a certain mind frame you have? Is there like a certain thing in your mind that's going through your mind? Because, you got to get yourself ready. You got to get in, are you in character at all times?
It seems that way sometimes. I will say that it used to be a lot different when I was starting to do this and like the Mohawk came about. The Mohawk came about 10 years ago, so I was still only doing it for the Eagles at that time.
Scratch that question off, so that's good.
Yeah, it was like my 40th birthday, walking around New Orleans at 3 o'clock in the morning where we're around the Red French Quarter, and they're like, well, what do you want to do now? And I'm like, why don't we go see if there's a bar that's got clippers and see if they'll shave my head. Coyote Ugly down in New Orleans. If you want to go get a haircut at 3 o'clock in the morning, Coyote Ugly has got clippers. And literally that's what came about. It was just like I got the Mohawk and went to a game all painted up. The guy, I looked at that point, it wasn't this look. It was playing around with different looks. That game, I specifically looked like an green and white tiger, just because I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
The guy who sits in front of me, who's a massive Saints fan, is Anthony Mackie, better known as the Falcon, or he's now Captain America, or Papa Doc, for 9 Mile and such. He's a monster Saints fan, and he's sitting in front of me, and we got content from that day that still lives out there on YouTube and such. So
That's awesome. That's great.
It was like a lot of fun. And like I said, it kind of grew from there. And just as I kept going and kept doing more. And
I want to know, when you're at Coyote Ugly, was the Mohawk that high or was it shorter?
So I kept my hair fairly short.
Okay.
I was a military guy, so I kind of kept military haircuts. We shaved it. It's higher now than it normally is. Actually, I just got a couple inches cut off.
So this whole look has evolved for you. This has been an
Yes.
evolved process for yourself. So while your look has evolved, you've evolved too.
Correct.
Who would ever thought? They used to always joke around and saying, "What do you think I can make money off my looks?" You can.
Well, it's not been simple.
No, nothing is.
I have a much more a larger appreciation to starving artists. I know exactly what that is. I had a business before I started this. It was a chimney sweep and masonry contracting company. It was hard to find people that wanted to work, and if I did find good quality masons, I would lose them to larger companies. And it was just becoming a battle to try to even stay afloat, because you can't work at your business if you're working on your business. It's or the other way around. I think you can't work
on it if you're working at it.
Yeah, working at it. And I was too busy having to be the one that picked up rocks and put them down, rather than, hey, this is what we do. And so the social media aspect came at a very opportune time. At this point, I was just like, okay, it's time to maybe move on and see if I could do something with this. And right after the production company says, okay, we're going to get you to start this, they're like, you got to go to the NFL draft. And I'm like, I don't want to go to the NFL draft. What do I need to go there for? And next thing you know, I'm at the NFL draft and I own the draft. Like from the moment I got in there, it was like, I'm like a little kid in a candy store taking pictures with all the other super fans and such. Mm-hmm. And my energy just radiated to everybody. And so the cameras immediately started to come towards me, and so did everybody else. And it's just ever since then, it's just taken off like a rocket.
And your energy does radiate. Like even sitting here, like when you speak, like there's energy going on there. There's, you can see that passion, in your face. You're like, some people are doing it because they're just doing it. You're doing it because there's a passion for it. And if you're doing something you're passionate about, it shines even brighter.
Right.
And people can gravitate towards that.
You can't do this job, and this is an absolute job. Everybody thinks that I just get games. I go to games for free and all this other stuff. Absolutely not. This is not simple, and you have to love this to do it. People say all the time, it's like, hey, I want your job. Do you? You better love people, because I don't get to turn it off. After the Super Bowl, after a Super Bowl loss, the first people that are in my face is an Arizona camera right in my face saying, how do you feel about the Super Bowl? It was a tough loss. Kansas City's a great team. I'm always going to be gracious. I'm never going to blame, a player or a referee. It's not in me to do. You know what I mean? I just congratulate the other team. Because if I complain, what's it going to do? It's not going to change the outcome. It's only going to make me look like a sore loser.
Right.
And you know what? There's enough of those out there. There are enough people that are negative. I like to remain positive. And that's kind of the mantra that I want to go off of. I don't hate on the other team. I cheer my team to the nth degree. And that's what it's all about. I want the other team and the other fans to love their team. Because if we all love the same team, we ain't got nothing to talk about. I want to be able to have the banter. I want to be able to keep it on the field. It's never personal. You're not playing. If you're a fan of another team, you're not playing on that team. We don't get paid enough to care.
Right.
We're
actually paying to be here.
Exactly.
And it's for you, that's really cool to hear you say, because, Philly sports fans have had the worst reputation from, the dawn of sports, I believe. I really do. Especially Eagles fans. I mean,
Oh, my Lord.
they are the everything you want to say about them. They're the fucking nastiest, the dirtiest, they're the meanest, they're the rudest, they're this, they're that, the other thing. But for you then to be that energy and then to, not be that Philly guy, but to be that Philly sports guy, you're changing the perception of Philly too then.
In a big way. That's one of the things that I started off. It was like I would always tell people, I'm like, I'm never going to embarrass myself, my team, or my city ever. So I'm always going to be gracious in defeats. I'm always going to be loud and passionate, but I'm not going to boo. I'm not going to, I'll get frustrated,
Yeah.
I will yell at a ref. I'll yell at another player, you know what I mean? But I'm never going to talk bad. I don't talk bad about the family. And Philadelphia sports is my family. So it's like, that's just, I kind of took that right from The Godfather. You don't talk bad about the family. And that's just the way that I've always kind of felt about this. So it's been part of me. And I've had fans come up to me and tell me straight out that they feel differently about Philadelphia fans now after meeting me, that it's no longer everybody in Philadelphia is this way, because I've changed their mind about one person. And if there's one person, there's got to be plenty more.
Which is really cool, because honestly, if I were a fan of an opposing team and I saw you and I heard you, I would think that guy's an asshole. Probably.
Right.
In my head, judging. I'm thinking like, being another fan. But then to know that, you are actually then very empathetic, and that you are actually, hey, it was a good game. That to me right there speaks volumes.
Well, and I love when other fans give it to me. When they're giving me the business, I've won. Because now I'm taking their attention away from the game. So that makes it, different. They're not cheering for them, they're cheering against me, which is even better. But when I introduce myself, I'm like, you get me today. These are my rules. I don't curse, I don't sit down, I don't shut up, which means that you're going to have to hear me all day. If you're going to curse at me, that's fine. I'm going to let you. And it's not going to faze me a little bit. You're not going to see me get angry or irate or upset. And that means you're not going to get rid of me either, because I'm also not drinking. So if I'm not drinking and I'm not cursing and all I'm doing is cheering, you're stuck with me all game long. And you know what? The energy brings their energy level up. And it gets them more excited about the game. I've had people hate the fact that I was at the game next to them because all game long, if I'm not yelling and screaming, I'm clapping. I got some big mitts. I can make a loud clap, and they're stuck hearing me all game long. And then afterwards, they're taking pictures with me.
Of course. Of course, they're probably really pissed off up front, like, I got to sit next to this the whole game. Mm-hmm. But throughout, it probably made their game that much better. Exactly. Regardless of the outcome, for whatever team they're a fan of, it makes it better because they have somebody there that was a part of that. I mean, the sections at games, you become close as you can with somebody sitting within like a few seats and rows that you're at.
Right.
You form a bond with them. Whether it is a fan from an opposing team or not, there's a bond that's formed there.
Right.
And you want to have that because you want that energy. So can you imagine, man, having you sit there? That's crazy. Yeah, I'd be thrilled. I'd be stoked for that.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. You don't know how to take it until you actually see it, and then you feel the energy, and then you become part of it. So if you're an opposing fan, that Saints game that I was telling you about that I got recognized in, the entire game, I was there 3 hours early. I never sat down. Not one time. The girl who was sitting next to me was absolutely not happy. She was like a 16-year-old girl, was really unhappy the entire time. Her family, wasn't happy initially, but learned to love me. At the end, she learned to love me because it was, it's how can you not? At the end of that, again, when I'm not cursing and I'm just like, hey, you guys won. It was a good game. And everybody's taking pictures. And then when I'm not clapping, when like there's a break and all of a sudden the whole section starts clapping at me, or I'm in Minnesota the year after we won the Super Bowl, which they were not happy. They put me on the news to show that Philadelphia fans aren't like the one guy who threw a beer, that, hey, listen, we can have fun with each other. We can have a good time. I sat in the front row in the corner, and I had 4 sections singing to me, na, 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 hey, 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 goodbye, because we got spanked that game. And they're all singing to me because I'm doing my thing the entire game, and they appreciated it. They love the fandom. They love the passion. They don't like being rebuted with their passion. They put something on Rocky. You don't touch Rocky here. Like that's sacred ground.
Rocky's off limits.
So if you do that, you're going to get some. I tell people you got to wear your thick skin. Like when you come into Philadelphia for an Eagles game, it's not necessarily baseball, hockey, basketball, much different. But when you come in for a football game, I tell people here are 2 rules you got to follow. I says you better wear your thick skin, and if you don't engage an asshole, you don't have to become one.
That's awesome.
That's that.
Those are words that live by too for people coming here for games, for Eagles games especially.
Right.
Because there are I mean, let's face it. I mean, I love Philly. I love Philly sports, but there are some asshole fans. But there are some asshole fans in every team, for every team.
Right.
So you have to take it. So with that being said, what is there one of particular sport that you like dressing up for the most, or painting your face for the most, or?
No, I don't really look at it that way.
Okay.
I will say that if I was to take a poll of all of the looks, the union look is the one that people like best. Of all the things, it has a little bit of a Braveheart look to it and such. Right. But like when it comes to picking sports over one another, it's like choosing your favorite kid. I got 5 kids, and I got to pick one of those to be my favorite. I only have 2 kids, by the way.
I was say you have 2, and one of them sitting here with us, James.
Right.
All right, James. How about you? I mean, first of all, my dad, when he was alive, he was a fun guy. A lot of fun. But when I was younger, I got very embarrassed by my father easily. I did. But all the other kids loved him. They all thought he was cool. The coolest guy, but he was my dad. So. How did you take this when you first started seeing this and this happening?
When I heard about this, I didn't hear about it from him. I heard about it from one of my friends in school. I heard about it and I was like, who is this Philly sports guy? I look, and it's my dad, and I'm just like, wait, what? And it took me like 3 minutes to register that it was my dad, and I just went, okay then, this is either A, embarrassing, or B, very funny, and I'm going to love this.
Wait, so you had no idea this was your dad's persona was the Philly sports guy?
Well,
or
I
he
knew
was being dubbed the Philly sports guy.
I knew he was loud during games. Even at home, I could shut my door in the house, blast music. I could still hear him clapping and cheering downstairs.
So the way he is at the games and that persona, that's him all the time. That's him at home?
Yes, if he goes to a game or if he watches a game, he's loud.
You hear that? This isn't just an act. This is real life. This is the way this man is always. So that energy level in the house, I mean, is everybody else in the house like that?
No, me and my sister did not like it at first. I've learned to love it. My sister
obviously, you learned to love it. Look at you sitting here painted up.
Yeah, I have painted up. I got out of school for this. I gotta love it. I'm out of school for this.
Well, the first time that I mean, I've been following for a while. I know, but at the wild card game too, you were there and you were also painted up for that game too, which was so cool because people were stopping you wanting pictures as well and stuff like that. So you've like taken on to this too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. How do your friends think about this? Are they like, you got a cool dad?
At first, when I told people about it, they were like, that's really cool. And then it slowly tapered off, and it's just like I became a lot of friends with a lot more sports fans, and I learned more about sports from them.
Very cool. So were you a big sports kid?
No.
No, not at all.
Like, I mean, I guess I played soccer for a while, but that wasn't that big.
So like to sit there and watch it on TV and stuff like that's not what you shared. You were in your room listening to music, and that's cool. Now with this, has this become a bigger bonding experience for you and your dad?
Yes, it has.
You know, it's funny. His mother, she says that I was the reason why they didn't become sports fans because we were big Flyers fans. I met his mother. There's a story behind her as well. We met during Flyer season.
Okay.
And I've always been a big Flyers fan. And with Flyers, you could be sitting around doing nothing and all of a sudden go from 0 to 100 because they just scored a goal. And I would do that and I would scare the children. So, and that's what she would said was the reason why they didn't like sports. You know, to start off because I was just very loud and very, you know, it would scare them. You know,
right?
When you're a 2 and 3 year old kid, all of a sudden somebody screaming, you're like,
this big guy with huge hands,
exactly.
Clapping and screaming.
So, and his mother is a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh,
yeah. You can imagine how that went when they watched games.
She, it's funny because obviously we met.
That's an odd pairing, I will say.
We met in February. We met in February during Flyers games, and we were watch Flyers games. September came around, and she's like, "You know, I'm a Cowboys fan." I'm like, "What?" You know, and of course, she's like 8 months pregnant. Got me tickets for my birthday for Game 5 of the 2008 World Series. So 8 months pregnant with him. You know, and they're with me at both halves of the game of the 2005 World Series. You know, so it was amazing.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Here it is. She's telling me she's a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm like, listen, you choose the religion, I'll choose the football team. Fast forward to 6 years old. James comes up to me and he's like, and James is a mama's boy. You know, James loves his mother. He's definitely a mama's boy.
I've grown out of that. I've grown on his side.
As you get older, that does happen.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but you're always going to be a mama's boy. I will tell you that.
Elena
It's always
has
something.
my younger
Exactly.
sister.
You know.
I loved my mother and I were very contentious, but I was still a mama's boy.
Same,
So.
very much the same. The older I get, and she's still around, I am fortunate, and I get that. But I totally get it.
And he comes up to me at 6 years old and says, "Dad, I'm going to be a Dallas Cowboys fan." And I look at him and I remember this. I remember this clear as day. I'm like, that's okay. You know, I'm going to still love you, but I'm letting all of your friends know. And she's like, you can't do that. Yes. And I'm like, oh, yes, we can. Oh, yes, I can. He lives in Philadelphia. He better learn right now what it's like to be a Dallas Cowboys fan in this city. You know, a few months later, he comes, he's like, Dad, I just don't like football.
I realized the mistake I had made and stopped there.
So fast forward to this time. Are you an Eagles fan now?
Yes.
You are. Are you, out of all the sports, since you weren't a sports, soccer was sports, what's your favorite sport that you like to go with your dad and watch?
I'd say probably baseball games. Those are really fun.
So it's funny. I liken it to, for all you people that have kids out there, the movie Rio. In the very beginning of the movie, you got Blue, who is the parrot that's around, and he's dancing with all the birds flying around doing the thing in the very beginning, and then he falls out of the tree, gets trapped, gets sent over to Minnesota, and never does anything. When he goes back to Rio, they have a little rave scene, and he's dancing. He has no idea what's going on, but he's just dancing. He's like doing the samba and such. And that's what it was like when you saw him at the Phillies game. It's the first time he had ever been in a Phillies game at that type of energy, and he's strutting his stuff, doing his thing, all painted up. It was exciting to watch. It was a lot of fun for me because I don't think he even knew, but at 3 months old, after being at that game, I would do Phillies, like, let's go Phillies. And he couldn't talk or anything, but he made the noise like, like, and it was like, he did it one time. I tried to get him to do it again, never happened again. But it was like I was there for that, and I'm like, that's ingrained in him. He was there at that World Series, even though he wasn't out yet, So it's seeing him at that playoff game with all the energy, people coming up and taking pictures with both of us was a lot of fun for me. It was just
very
come
cool.
Full circle.
That actually is a great bonding experience. There's not a lot of things that parents can do together with their children that they really appreciate, where the kids are okay with it and the parents are okay with it. Right. Parents will sacrifice for the kids' enjoyment and the kids will sacrifice for parents. But to have that, the energy, and I do remember, actually, to be honest, I think I remember a conversation as you were in the crowd even saying, this is first time looking like this, or you're telling somebody, and he was just you were going to town, man. You were just having a blast. You were just enjoying it. So the games, how many games a year do you go to?
All of them.
How do you pick and choose, You got a killer Sixers game, but you also got a Flyers game going on. You're a Flyers fan.
Well, if they play in the same arena, I just stay at a hotel close by and I change into both.
That's it.
This past weekend we had Saturday was a Sixers game, followed by a Flyers game, and then Sunday was the Eagles game. In 28 hours, I was in 3 different colors.
And your face, you're painting your face, makeup on and off. How long does it take you? Because not all paint jobs are the same, are they? Or are you standard now? Are you keeping it consistent?
Yeah, so the look is similar. So the mohawk, the eyes, and this will always remain the same color.
Right.
And then this is the opposite color of that. So obviously, if I'm wearing a blue jersey, it's red. Red's the base color, and this is, the blue is the alternate.
It's like your animals for the face painting.
Correct.
That's cool.
So when I do Flyers games, I look like Nemo. When I think about Phillies, when I do the powder blue Thursdays, I call that the Papa Smurf look.
Oh, geez.
Because it looks like I look like a Smurf. I have blue all over my face. I have a white stripe with a red stripe inside, red inside here, and then a red mohawk, which makes me look like Papa Smurf because he wore a red hat. So it was but I keep it looking the same because it makes it easier for people to recognize me. People still come up and be like, "Are you the Philly sports guy?" And I'm like, "Yep, I am."
And even the back of your jersey says
TPSG.
TPSG.
Or PSG or Philly sports guy, depending on who got me the jersey.
That's awesome. Yours is going to have to say the Philly sports kid now.
Yeah.
You got to put those letters on there for you. So, and you're branding yourself. That's a brand. I mean, you're a brand. You are definitely a brand. But you get to have fun at your brand. You enjoy what you're doing. This is work, but you're having a blast at it. You get to travel too. You're traveling. You see Minnesota. What was your favorite Eagles game that you traveled to as the Philly sports guy?
I mean, realistically, probably the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That week was such an amazing week. That and going to Vegas for the first time as for the Eagles.
So you've had a chance to travel to many places. Out of all the places you traveled to, which has been your favorite place you traveled to?
Well, I would have to say, going to the Super Bowl. I mean, it was my very first Super Bowl that I attended. Was probably one of my favorite. I went out there for a week. It was literally. I got painted up 5 days of that week. Just going around and taking pictures, and it's not just a celebration of the two teams that are there. A lot of the NFL shows up for that, so it makes it really fun in a lot of ways. Going to the Pro Bowl was also a lot of fun because you have different fan bases come around. I like going to the drafts.
I bet you the hype at the drafts is probably crazy. I would probably that would probably make me I don't know, I'd probably get anxiety there.
So it's funny. I let the Eagles know that I'm going, and they let me in. Before, I used to sneak in. Now imagine me being painted up, wearing shoulder pads, looking like a football player, and having to sneak anywhere. I literally would do that, and it was funny that I would get away with it. I'd be like, oh, I got to make this happen. I'm like, oh, I can't find my ticket. And next thing you know, I'm inside, and there I am. And the moment that I get into these places, all the other super fans know me. And they want to be close. They want to be around me because, one, the camera likes to find me. And even the camera guys tell me, if we need a shot, we go to you because you get it. You know what happens when the red light comes on. You can just start to go nuts. You don't have to do it for very long. Red light goes off. I'm heading out.
You know your role.
Exactly.
That's a good thing. That's a good place to be.
And I also I don't pander to a camera. I don't need to do all of that. I will sit there and I'll start, and then I push the other person in because it's not all about me.
That's awesome.
It can't be about me all the time.
That's really cool to hear because when you think about it, when you look at the big screen, when you look at the Jumbotrons and stuff like that, you see people waiting for that camera to pan on them, and then they start to go crazy or whatever the case may be. They wait for that instant gratification there. You push it away. You give it to others for their time to shine.
Right.
Because you have yours.
Right.
People know you. Are there any other, I would say, ultimate sports fans like yourselves, that paint up for other teams? Is there any other?
There's a guy in Houston who he goes by, Toucan Dan. And he doesn't paint his face, but he supports all the Houston teams. Other than that, there isn't many locations that a fan can do this and it work. You can't be in New York and be the New York sports guy because there's too many teams. Mm-hmm. You got 2 baseball, 2 football, 2 hockey, 2 soccer teams even. Chicago, same situation. You got to pick and choose.
Right.
Philadelphia is the only real location, short of Dallas. I'm sure somebody could do it in Dallas as well. That there's only one team in, all 5 of the major sports, and you could paint up for it. But I'm the first one that ever really took this said, okay, I'm going to make this a profession.
So do you have a makeup company that you work with that sends you the makeup, that sponsors you yet?
I would love for somebody to start sending me stuff from Meron. I do a lot with Meron. I tag them all the time. They never look out for me. I'm looking right at the camera at you there, Meron. Unfortunately, no, they don't give it to me. I got to buy it. And it gets expensive. That and the hairspray. So I don't dye my hair. It's all hairspray. And I've tried a whole bunch of different hairsprays. The cans at Party City, the $4 cans at Party City are the ones that are the best.
The costume one, the ones, because you can't dye because it's different colors. You need to wash it out.
Correct.
Wow, what's your hair like now? Is it brittle or?
Sometimes. It was funny
especially when you're going from one to the next, and within you said you went.
Actually, my hair does better when it has product in it now. When it doesn't have any product, like last night when I went to go pick him up, I didn't do anything with my hair at all, and it looks like I stuck my finger in a socket and it just was, it was like a big frizz ball. And his mother comes out and she goes, "Whoa, hair!" You know what I mean? So it's part of what it is. But once it's product in there and I put some conditioner in, it's not so bad.
So the mohawk is 24/7 with him when he's out?
Yeah.
That's his hairstyle all the time?
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Well, only a few days ago, I got a very bad haircut, and so we tried to make it like a decent mohawk. Didn't work very well, but it was better than what it looked like when it was cut normally.
So will you go to school with your hair like that?
Like this?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, so this was done. This was done today specifically
For today.
for the Preston and Steve Camp Out for Hunger.
Yeah, so you're doing that right now.
Correct. So I go down. This is my third year doing it. They've been doing it for 26 years, but this is my third year. And I went there the first year I started to do this. When I started to really get known, I probably had about 20,000 followers in all of the social media, and I was like, all right, I want to go support Philadelphia. I want to paint my face up every day differently for the Preston and Steve show. And they were like, who is this guy? And now they're like, there's the Philly sports guy again. You know what I mean? It's just, now I'm becoming a fixture. And they appreciate the fact that I'm putting out content and I'm trying to get people to go down and donate. Because although I've made this a profession, I'm just starting to get paid. I'm still in the recovery phase of, hey, look at this is what happens when you start to make a little bit of money. You got to pay it all out because I owe everybody. But
That's why he needs sponsors for makeup and things like that, hair product. Come on
Exactly,
now, people.
exactly.
Give it to him. He's a starving artist.
But the one thing I do have is I have energy and I have time. So even though I don't have the money to donate or I don't have the ability to be everywhere and go and get cans from a whole bunch of different places and such, I do have the time and the want to be able to be a part of this, and I make videos for them, and that's what they appreciate because it's not a matter of me, and it's not a matter of, hey, I can give them $10 and I can walk away and I can feel a little bit good about myself, and that $10 will get used in a proper way. But now I'm going down there and I'm putting in the work for them. They're getting paid to be there,
Right?
Because they're getting paid to be
That's their job.
Preston and Steve. Yeah. I am not. And I'm taking pictures with the people. I am bringing up some excitement. They had some game, and I'm the one yelling and screaming. Traveling, running down the obstacle course with these guys, just because again, it's bringing some energy and it's bringing some excitement, and that's valuable to them. That's worth more than the $20, $10 that I could give them. It's worth more than a little bag of groceries because maybe there's a group of people that wouldn't have come down and given anything at all if they didn't see my video.
And that's what being a voice is all about, utilizing it for something good, something positive,
Right.
Being able to use your platform that you have now as a Philly sports guy to pay it forward to others that are in need of something here. So you're actually working for our community.
Correct.
You're doing it not just for the sports community, you're doing it for all Philly community because you're being a voice for that. Because there are people who are following you for you and we know nothing about what Preston and Steve are doing each year. If they can't, and if you can get one person, that's worth it for them.
Right.
But somebody like yourself, there's probably a lot of people saying, I want to be a part of that.
Right. Well, and that's the great thing about doing this. Like I said, it's still a phenomenon to me. I still, I know that I have an outreach. But when parents come up to me and they say, my kid showed me you on TikTok and my kid loves you. And now I get to share videos with him because they get the joke. They both think I'm funny because all I'm doing is yelling at my phone. I'm sitting here like this with my phone and I'm like, what's up, everybody? And going over my thing and then ending with, yeah, and so I get that all the time. Like people come up to me and they're just like, oh yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not the the Hawaiian Punch guy, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to smile and give him a high five.
I get it. That's awesome, though. You have to, once again, play the role. You got, you do it. But also, you have the genuinity about it. You are very sincere about what you're doing. You're not doing. Once you said, you're not doing it for the big bucks because it's not coming in yet. As it will, I am confident that it will. That's something So, do people recognize you without makeup?
More frequently now. Yeah, it's people are so. I always talk about my living room, which is Dolan's bar. It's like I refer to it as my living room. I live right above it, so it's quite literally my living room. But so people start coming into the bar now because I'm always talking about it and how much of a good time it is and stuff. So people come into the bar all the time from not just local. They'll come from different parts of the country. They're like, I got to see what this Dolan's bar is like. So it amazes me that how far my outreach gets. Like, I've had people for my birthday. I had somebody call me from Dallas, Texas, who I've never heard of before. His name was Miguel. He called it like 2:00 in the morning our time, which is 1:00 in the morning his time, to just say happy birthday to me. And like the owner, he just was like, wow, this is unexpected a little bit, just like, so he had to tell me the next day. He's like, I got a phone call from you last night from Miguel from Texas. He's like, that's my bar. When I come to Philly, that's my bar. So it's just like, okay, it's just, it's fun for me. I'm glad that people are, I'm able to influence them, not just for sports, but hey, I'm going to introduce you to good spots. I'm going to introduce you to good people. And if you're going to follow me, you're never going to hear me do things wrong. So that's why you can feel confident as a parent to share those videos with your kids, because it's going to be fun for both of you. And
well, you have to, because sports is a family environment. Something, baseball, most definitely. You look at things like that, basketball, most definitely. So you look at stuff like that, and knowing that you have kids, you know what your limits are. You know what you want to say, what you shouldn't say, because you don't want to be that guy.
Right.
You want to be that guy, the cool guy, not that asshole guy.
Right. Well, not only that, but it's like there's so many, like, all I'd have to, one thing could tear this all down. Like, one bad thing could tear this all down.
Absolutely.
It's like and you have to be protective nowadays. This is a whole different world. Like, when I take pictures with a bunch of people, most of the time my hands are out this way because I don't want to put my hands on them. I don't want to, like, I can't have somebody misconstrue anything. And it's just part of this business right now. I am everywhere. You see me everywhere. And I take pictures with many, many people. It was determined last year for the month of October and November that I took somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60,000 pictures. And I touched more people than anyone else in the world because of all the travel I did between the Eagles and the Phillies and the Union, and giving high fives and fist pumps and shaking hands and just going like this to take pictures with people and such. That there was more. I touched more people than anyone else in the world, and I'm thinking about, like, that's a lot of people. Because there's a lot of people to compare me to.
That's actually a really good honor too, though. Think about that. That's a great honor.
I don't take myself too seriously. I tell people, when you paint your face for a living, you better get the joke. And I do get the joke. I've given myself a very big microphone. And you're right, you said it a little bit ago. If you're going to have that type of microphone, you better use it for good.
Absolutely.
Because there's no point in having it if you're not going to.
People will remember what you use it for.
Right.
And you're right. They'll remember that one little thing that you did that shouldn't have been done or said, and they're going to blow it up in your face, and they're going to use that against you for the rest of your life.
Right.
So you've got to watch that. And I love that you said that. I'm talking to the camera because of the fact that there are so many people out there that think that they have this shield of armor and they can say and do what they want, and it comes back to haunt them or hurt them or somebody else.
Right.
So I love that. But you also are involved with with tickets, correct? Ticket company?
One of my sponsors is TickPick. So I do commercials.
I love those commercials.
And it's so funny because it's funny that people start laughing at me, like in the middle of an Eagles touchdown, like everybody's cheering, and I start to go into a commercial right then and there. It's always funny to me to think about it like that. It's just like, oh, I got to remember who's allowing me to be able to feed the kids. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because kids like sandwiches. You know what I mean? So you better make sure to be able to make something. You know?
Absolutely. You better give them something, right?
Exactly. So you have to remember to do those things. So it's kind of funny where, people will give me a little bit of, ribbing afterwards and then want to be in the next one.
Because they realize the reach is going to have too then, and
Right.
what you're doing and who you are. It's, so does anybody ever call you Jamie, or do they always just call you?
I get a lot of both now.
You do now?
Yeah, Philly sports guy or Jamie. I get them both.
I think it's pretty cool that they call you Jamie because they have a connection to you now, like they know you personally.
Right.
Now there's more of a personal level and not just that fandom sort of level. So that's pretty cool too. Do you just wake up each day and still like pinch yourself like, is this real?
No, I don't. Every once in a while, I get like a smack in the face of reality for me in terms of somebody will give me like a letter that's like really heartfelt. Like not too long ago, I received a message through Instagram where this, I want to say he was probably, I think he's about 30 years old, guy. And he was sharing videos with his father, and they would watch me every day, and he was on his deathbed. And I guess he was on hospice for the last, I think, 6 to 8 weeks. And every day they'd watch my videos and laugh together. And that was what was able to keep him close to his father at that, at the last moments of his life. And that chokes me up. You know what I mean? Like that hits in ways that no sports game is going to do. You know what I mean? That's what really makes it all real for me and makes me want to do it more.
I love it. That's the human touch.
Yeah.
That's the human touch.
You can't fake this.
No.
This is not, the passion that I have can't be faked. You can't be like, yeah, let's go team. It just doesn't work that way. You have to
That was pretty good though.
And it's funny because I can turn it off and on. Like I can flip the switch like that, and it cracks me up. Like I'm at an Eagles game, not even at the game. I'm tailgating and I'm stretching because it's a long day for me. When it's like a 4:00 game, I start at 8:00 in the morning. I start stretching because I'm going to be like that until about midnight. So I'm wearing shoulder pads, football gear. People are banging my shoulder pads every 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or thousands of people coming to do that. So I just prepare myself. And somebody from NBC comes over, and she's barely awake. She's carrying this monstrously heavy camera. She comes up to me, and she sees me, and she starts walking over to me like, and puts the camera up on her shoulder, and she goes, "Are you ready?" And I looked at my buddy, and I just started laughing, and I jumped into it. I'm like, "What's up, everybody? Philly sports guy here," and and she was like taken aback. She's like, that was the most amazing thing I ever just witnessed. Like that you went from nothing to everything, back to nothing again, in just that quick moment of time. And I was like, oh, that's.
And you are not scripted. You are real life. You're just, there is nothing. This is total like reality.
All one take. All one take stuff. I won't say never. I've had to do a couple of second takes, but very rarely. It's like I get my camera, I say what I'm going to say. If I start to stumble a little bit, I just pass through it and just get it out, post it.
Love it. I love it. That's reality. That's reality right there.
Right.
Did you ever think when you were younger, when you were checking boxes of what you're going to be when you got older, that this is where you would be?
Well, from hearing my mother at 10 years old, it was something that I wanted to do. So it's like maybe this was my calling. It's like
manifested
it's funny.
that.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And you never thought about it like this. Like, oh, well, maybe I could paint my face for a living and go to sporting events. The only person that I know of that goes to as many sporting events as me is John Clark. And he gets paid to do that.
Yes, he does.
So I am just now starting to get paid to do it.
Good for you.
But that was always my goal. My goal was to bring the in-game experience to the people who can't get there, whether you're in Philadelphia or not, whether you are financially capable of doing it or not. anybody can watch my videos and enjoy and know that I'm there for them. That's kind of what it is that I'm trying to do. I don't want to be the voice of Philadelphia. I know that right now I am one of the 3 or 4 people that is the main face of Philly sports. But that's just kind of what was the cause of all the work that I've done. I didn't say, hey, I'm going to be the face. Every time you Google paint face guy in Philly, you're going to see my face.
Paint face guy.
Yeah. I mean, because there's there's the Philly captain. There's Dumphy. There's, Sean, who's done it for the Eagles for 25 plus years. All of these guys have helped mold a little bit about what it is that I've become. My mother worked at the Spectrum. My grandmother worked at the Spectrum in the Vet. I have stories that go back, when sports was just sports and not big business like it is today. My mother would work at the Vet Stadium for Phillies games, and my father was a concrete finisher. So he was working part of the union. Sometimes he'd have to work late. Mom would have to take me to work. Bartender would get done a little bit early, and the bartender would be like, hey, I'm going to take him down to the to the dugout to go meet some of the Phillies. Think about that just in general. A bartender working at the stadium is going to now get into the dugout. Impossible to do now, but that's the way it was back then. So I have this story where I got to meet Schmidt and Boa and stuff like that, and
wow.
and I'm holding hands with this bartender who knows my mother, but I don't really know him very much. And the guy's and he goes, I'm looking to see this big monster guy, and it's the Bull, Greg Lisinski. And I'm looking at him, and he goes, and this guy, this is the Bull, this is Greg Lisinski. And he looks down at me, and he goes, I eat little kids for breakfast. He takes me and just pushes me aside and walks past me. It's 6, 7 years old. I never forgot that.
That's something not to forget either. That's memorable.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool. That's really
it's
cool.
When I told him the story, a few years ago, he's like, you must have been small.
This is epic. You get to meet some iconic people. You get to connect with, some people all over the world at this point. You definitely are somebody who is using what you're doing for good. It's a power of influence.
Yes.
It really is. So thank you for that.
And like I said, we've only really just talked the tip of the iceberg. I said that I'm doing the Preston Steve Camp Out for Hunger. I also do public speaking where I've set up a program where I'm going to be going into schools to talk about bullying, and where a lot of schools are having a bullying issue and bullying problems. When you think about, well, who do we want to come in to talk to the kids? You think about, I was talking to one school, and they're like, well, we're going to get a police officer. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't get arrested for bullying. And then I explained to him, I'm like, listen,
because the DARE program did so well.
Well, and that's
it did so well. They told you what drugs were called, where you could get drugs,
where you could buy them,
where you could buy them, and how to get away with having them.
See, exactly. And this is a 14-year-old in the public school system. So who's better to come in and talk about it?
Probably him, because, everyone knows him.
And what better reference than his own son? I mean, come on.
There you go.
That is no, but so you're doing public speaking, you're getting out in the community, you're doing good things in that aspect. And if people want to connect with you and contact you and bring you to their events and bring you in as a Philly sports guy or Jamie to an event, how do they contact you?
So if you Google the Philly sports guy, Google me, the Philly sports guy, I show up on all the social media. I have the phillysportsguy.net. You can go ahead and contact me right there and book me for any event and such. Really, like I said, I'm not hard to find.
No, and you're not hard to miss either. That's for darn sure.
Right.
So if you're just walking, they know it. And I'm very grateful for you taking your time. I know your days are crazy. I know they're busy. You've been up since, probably 5 a.m., getting ready for this.
I woke up 30 minutes after.
And you as well, painting. You coming on your day off from school and joining him. sitting here with me. I hope we can get together again, as you evolve and talk more about what you're doing, because I see really good things in store for you.
Well, I really do appreciate it. It just was great to come in and do this. Like I said, it's funny that everybody gets to see me at 20 seconds at a time and 30 seconds at a time. But I really enjoy doing the one-to-one because I feel like it says, I may be larger than life, but I'm just a human like everybody else.
And I love this because it's being able to peel layers back and find that humanity part of it.
Exactly.
So thanks so much for coming in, Jamie. You're awesome.
Thank you for having
me. And James,
me.
Thanks for spending your day out of school with me as well. And keep doing what you're doing, because to have this bonding with your dad, I got to tell you, my dad gone 5-6 years almost now. I wish I had a little bonding experience like this, because this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it's not too late, for like I learned how to play Fortnite to be able to start to try to be able to communicate with them. I suck at video games in general, you know what I mean? I'm in Fortnite. I'm great at coming in second place because I was always good at hiding. But anytime somebody had to go shoot somebody, I get shot. Next thing you know, I'm looking up in the air. It's like, all right, forget it. I'm dead. But I would talk, and that's how we would communicate. We'd communicate over Fortnite and things like that. So
now I'm going to his side of things. I know basically nothing about sports in general. And so now I'm in his world, just like he was in mine.
That's awesome. That's awesome. This is some good stuff you got going on here. But if you're not following the Philly Sports Guy, get out there. Make sure you're following him. The Philly Sports Guy, like I said, if you Google it, you won't miss that space at all. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate it. James, once again, Jamie, thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. And everybody else out there, this is Britt Carpenter on Usala Media. Thanks to my guys there behind the booth, taking care of what they take care of and keeping me on track at all times, Danny and Justin. And the rest of y'all, remember, whatever it is you stand for, be a voice. Have a great rest of your day.